are going live. We are doing this. Hey, everybody, welcome to our book study group for Monday, the 13th of June, 2022. I'm John Lavenia. You're not John Lavenia. You're here listening to John Lavenia. And I do see Bob and Missy and Catherine and Lindsay and Mickey and all of you on the interwebs tuning in, listening to us discuss philosophical texts from the days of yore. Actually, the book we're on right now is rather modern. This was 1982 or 4 by Bob Proctor. We are on chapters 3, 4, and 5 from You Were Born Rich, baby. Woo! You were born. Actually, the title is just You Were Born Rich. It's not You Were Born Rich, baby. Woo! Just to be accurate here, I don't want to give you guys any misinformation. I know we're living in the age of misinformation. Actually, he covers that on in chapter 4. Good stuff, you guys. So we got 3 chapters that we're going to be tuning into here tonight that we're going to be discussing. Hopefully you've read them. And if not, you'll get something out of just our talks and, hearing how other people had experienced these. But chapter 3, the image maker. Okay, so basic but important reminders. Chapter 4, let go and let God. This one hit me good. And number 5, expect an abundance. Expect an abundance. So as is tradition, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for whoever wants to start with chapter 3. Any points that just jumped out for you? Of course, I've got a bunch of things highlighted as well, but I'd love to hear what's the most impactful stuff that came up for you in that chapter, the image maker. Who's got some ideas on that? Missy, thanks for volunteering. Hi, Missy.
I read it all, so I can't. It's every word is very important, and the image we hold of ourselves is the key to everything. And we got to cut it out. We just got to cut out this crap that we've been pulling around for all these decades. Not all our fault, because we know that certain people have been doing certain things for about 100 years or more.
Right.
And that added to it. But now that we know, we have no excuse. We have to remake the image. We got to use the shears of revision if necessary to change something from the past. It's all Neville Goddard. Everything he's writing is Neville Goddard.
Same truth.
Put in Bob Proctor's folksy way. But yeah, and I feel very enthused from the Greek. What is that? Of God, full of God. It's better than what I used to be full of. So, right. But I feel enthusiastic almost all the time. But what's happening now is that because I have been working on this image now for quite some time, I'm able to catch when I'm falling out of that place. And now, I would catch it in the past, but I wouldn't know what to do. So I would just go there because it was like an old miserable friend, I guess, those people, you got to keep some relative that you're sticking around with because they're related to you. No, kick them to the curb. Neville Goddard says, I know it's Bob Proctor, but he said, you must die to your former self. To make the new image, you can't carry the junk of the old image. And it's not a real death. It's not even a death. It's a spiritual rebirth. Maybe perhaps he shouldn't have called it die to yourself. But really, that's how far you have to go. And when you see yourself, I may be mixing up the chapters. We got to get out of our bodies. And if you see yourself, if you just find some image somewhere, like YouTube of a body, the body electric, not look at this, and you see we are limitless. And there was something I watched of Bob Proctor. I don't know if it was this or something else. He said, even a dead body in the coffin, if you look with a strong enough microscope, it still has movement, even though it's dead and has formaldehyde in it. The energy cannot be destroyed. He said that's how it turns into ashes eventually, because it's still moving in a state. And that was fascinating to me. And we are the poor dead person doesn't have the choice anymore, but we do. And we're in these bodies, and we better use them for good for ourselves and other people. And it's very possible just by making certain choices. That's all we have to do. And sometimes we need help, and that's what this group is for. We need like-minded people, because if you're surrounded by, like my sister, who I love, but all she says, it sounds good on paper, but I'm too tired. It's really exciting when you can't hide from that anymore because you have no place else to go to. You can't say, oh, I didn't know. I didn't realize that. No, we all know now. So we have to latch onto our birthright and make it come true without forcing it. Let go, forget the how, just live from that prosperous point and it will come. It's a law.
Reveals itself. So we don't abandon the how, right? Just because we prayed or something and now we go on vacation, right? So I get what you're saying. I also get your background keeps making you disappear. Like you're on, you're off. What is that background? You got a different house.
Realm. I'm in and out. I'm in and out of this realm.
Right. What background is that? What house is that?
It's another house in Oyster Bay Cove.
Oh, okay.
Right on the water.
Well, since we're talking about the image maker, there you go. Right. So now you see it and now everybody else sees it too. That's great. You know what? Let me get a virtual background. I never use virtual backgrounds. Let me do that anyway. Download smart virtual background package. What?
No. Just upload a picture. Upload a picture.
I guess with the new update of, it's true. No, you see, it's asking me to download these. That's kind of weird. All right. So John, you shouldn't use backgrounds. All right, good. I won't. Good stuff. Thank you, Missy. Who else on the image maker?
My big takeaway from this chapter, although it's in every single chapter, is persistence.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's one thing to have the image. It's another thing to go after it. And the people who continue to persist are the ones, you talked about John Canary. I think that's how, Canary with a K. Ooh, okay. Now you're changed, John. Your image has changed. Who moved heaven and earth, to get to talk to Bob Proctor. And, whatever little time he could have with Bob Proctor, he was going to make sure that he had. And the same thing about Paul Hutsey. They saw the benefit that was going to come through their working with Bob Proctor, and they weren't put off by time or space. They said, I am going to meet this guy. I am going to talk to him. More than that, I am going to shadow him. And I am going to take notes. I'm going to be at all the seminars. And John Canary said, I want to do what you do. I want to do what you do. And he realized what was necessary for it. So obviously he had the image in his mind and he was convinced that he could do it. And he had a lot to overcome. Evidently, the first few times that he was given the opportunity to speak, he was a nervous wreck. But he persisted. And that is what makes the difference. The image is nice, but you have to persist after it. We're always 3 feet from gold.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if any of you have been through the Born Rich seminar, but I've been through it a couple times live with Bob back in the day. And then I've got the recordings of it, the videos. If anyone's interested in experiencing that, you might be able to get it on Proctor Gallagher, bobproctor.com. But you get to meet John Canary. Gives some of the lectures. He actually delivers some of the lectures in that recorded seminar. And he even has Paul Hutsey come up and give a little speech. Paul Hutsey, that's the guy I got the saying from. Lindsay, you'll like this. You've heard me say plenty of times. Confucius say, right? Man who shoots at nothing, sure to hit it. Paul Hutsey, that's where I got it from. Yeah, good stuff. And Lindsay's the youngest person on the call, I think.
That little
Wow.
boy.
There you go. I did not know that. Now I know. All right, good stuff. You like my new office?
Yeah,
All right, good.
very upmarket, John.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
It's because I have the free version of Zoom. It won't let me do that.
Oh, that's
Think about
weird.
it.
I don't know. I had those images before, and then like these are images I uploaded, and then it had me download some plugin or something. I guess the new Zoom needs the new plugin or something, whatever. All right. Back to philosophy. Who else has some thoughts on the image maker?
Well, so I want to say that he also said, he was talking about a man who was the business was once, he was 175th, and that was a really good number, but he really wanted to be to 100. And so beyond persistence, beyond the image, Bob told him, think of yourself as 100 or less. Don't see where you are now. Think of what you want to be then. And he ended up like number 2. But, you know, the image in his mind was not limited to where he was. It looked beyond to where he wanted to be. And that's really important too, I think.
Right. Right. So, and one of the ways that Bob put this in the seminar was that most people are totally deductive. So they observe appearances and they deduce, here's reality, right? So we want to balance that with being inductive, originating a thought. Okay. And in The Science of Getting Rich, Wallace Wattles called this thinking truth, regardless of appearances, thinking truth. And it's not easy. I mean, that's the thing, is that, well, can you disregard appearances, or can you be so fervent and consistent in the images that you induce, being inductive, that you actually do create an imbalance in the other direction, right? If we're out of balance being deductive, can we tilt those scales? We can. It's work. Mickey, your thoughts?
Well, this kind of spoke to me in a couple of different levels. First of all, just the, I guess, just understanding that we're created in the image of God. How creative is He? How creative are we? It just made sense to me kind of for the first time that, wow, I can really take advantage of being creative, that I have a mind, I need to use it. I was comparing how I'm just so used to punching the clock in the hospital. It's all I've done for 30 years. It didn't require any creativity except for, maybe how to image a certain thing. But to form your life the way that you want it to go is a whole different thing as an entrepreneur. So it kind of had that double meaning for me. So at this point, as I'm building this business, I have a lot of opportunity that I didn't see before, and I've been able to take hold of these opportunities to paint an entire new picture. And it's not a new picture of who I am. It's the original version of who I am with the gifts God gave me, the story that I have, and then painting that picture and being able to, express that to the world. It's like full circle, everything that encompasses who we are, our past, our future, our beliefs, our thought processes, our political views, everything like that, to be able to just really harness that, put it all in one big bottle, shake it up and be able to, create this image. It's like, wow, I get to be myself, who I really have always wanted to be, for the first time. So that being said, it was life-changing for me. The part that was talking about, being enthusiastic, and being, in God, that the enthusiasm that we have to go forward is really from that Greek entheos, right? That meant a lot to me, because I thought my passion, again, the passion, that we have, the drive that we have comes from, from God, that energy as our creator. And then the other thought that I had was just the story about the preacher and the farmer, or the minister and the farmer. It's really easy to look at somebody's life who has what maybe we want, and not to fall into the envy, because obviously that's counterproductive, but how quick we are to judge somebody else. And when the farmer, said to the minister, he's like, well, yeah, I am blessed, but you should have seen it before, when God first gave it to me.
Well, when he had it all to himself.
Yeah. When he had it all to himself, that's exactly right. So far in this, it's just, I have a lot of thoughts, and I feel very, propelled forward, I guess you would say. A lot of good points.
Very nice. Thank you, Mickey. Yeah. The interesting thing too, as you're talking about, and you're citing the source of all, right? So entheos, right, in God, and how you're an individualization, an expression of that already existing power, which cannot be created or destroyed. He also mentioned here in the chapter that you're already doing it. So I'll pull up the book. So it says here, you have already employed this great mental tool.
Yeah.
So whether you know it or like it or not, you're doing it.
Yeah.
For better or worse, right? It says here, this really got to me, everybody, because, and I think probably all of us have been through the Science of Getting Rich. But it says here, knowledge of the image making eliminates competition from your life. Remember what Waddles talked about, competitive versus creative, by moving you from the competitive plane to the creative plane. So rather than looking outside and comparisons and, they can have, I can't have, or any of that stuff, you will soon understand, therefore, that in truth, the only competition you will ever have is with your own ignorance. That is so rich. Yeah.
It is.
So, Mickey had something else on that?
I just remember as I was reading through this, I was thinking how I am certainly not going to live in shame by how eye-opening it has been on how many years I have spent ignorant, and what a blessing it is to finally realize that I have control over that.
Right.
That I have control over that. It's beautiful. Like 52 years old and I'm just realizing this, but still I'm going to take it.
Right. Thank you. So moving into later parts of this chapter, he talks about a picture appealed to the person. The person thought of it often until a desire to have such a thing began to develop. All right. So when we think about goal achievement, okay, or employing the law, because all success is based on the application of law. Okay. In this case, if we are not thinking of it often, it's probably, we hadn't really stoked those fires. When these people, like the guy built the first chair, he really wanted to sit more comfortably and not have his knees in his chin, right? So he kept thinking of possible solutions, really wanted it. Didn't have to force himself to think about it. He just thought about it a lot. And that desire developed, and then the means for its fulfillment showed up thereafter. Okay. But I thought this one, and I don't know any golfers here, but Jack Nicklaus will not even pick up a club until he has a very clear image on the screen of his mind, showing exactly how the ball will fly through the air, how it will hit the ground, and where it will roll after it hits. I did training with an excellent shooter and in the shooting sports, and he actually sees the hole before he even draws his weapon. He knows exactly where the hole is going to go. And the guy's amazing. And I said to him, so it's almost like you're meditating on the firing line. He's like, yeah. So that's, guys, this is like raising it up. Yeah, we've all talked about law of attraction and visualize what you got, get your freaking dream board and whatever. But this is like for real. Like we're really meditating on this stuff now. Moving on, he says, all the truly great leaders are in complete agreement with what I have just explained about your equality with great people of the past and present. So this is why we cannot put in comparison, right? Competition and all this. We cannot put people on a pedestal. Even Jesus said that you can do all this, even greater things. Even greater things are you capable of. Right. I don't think too many of us believe him, but that's what he said. So what's with the pedestal? Anyway, I think that's all. A couple other things here. You not only have to study these ideas, but you must use them as well, or there will be no conviction in your talks. This is what he was saying to John Canary. For me, this just said one thing, one word: integrity. You can't fake this. There's no faking this. All right. So you're either doing it like for real or good luck. And you know what good luck means around here. All right. So here's this minister. I loved this. I don't know how many of you picked up on this one. It says, keep your mind on a higher image rather than a lower concern. Ooh. I realize that is not always an easy thing to do. So he's giving you permission to go ahead and acknowledge that, this is work. Okay, cool. But it sure pays great dividends for the person who develops the mental strength to do it. And that is what it takes, mental strength. So look, if success was easy, it would be mediocrity. Everybody would have it. This is work. This is the work. And I forgot a lot of times. I get seduced by appearances. Of course. Here's that Paul Hutsey bit, right? So Paul's talking all about his circumstances, and Bob's like, all right, here's the problem, right? You don't see yourself in the top 100. Do that. And then circumstances showed up. He got transferred and this and that. And now, of course, the guy's the head honcho and whatever. The point I think that Bob's making is that you bloom where you're planted. You start right where you are. Build the image of what you want, and then act as if you already have received it. We've heard this a million times, but he said somewhere in this chapter, if you got to read it 100 times, do it. And of course, the Goethe quote, which I love: "Before you can do something, you must first be something." The actual translation, as I know it, is one must be something in order to do something. Be, do, and have, in that order. And then you write out your goal statement or your affirmation. I am so happy I now see myself with. That's another way to word it, right? I've also heard it said, I am so happy and grateful now that I have, right? So in present tense, but just notice that present tense. So however you like to word it for yourself, I am so happy. I now see myself with, right? So you like that wording, okay? Present tense, strong. It's strong stuff. Any other thoughts on the image maker?
Yeah, I have another thought. Not
Yes.
not that I want to monopolize this at all, but there's just a sense of shift in my life and in my belief system. When he talks about, when you talk about your dreams to other people, they may not understand. There is kind of like a little person. We have to be able to shift our mindset completely, kind of like becoming the teacher rather than the student, or the preacher rather than the congregation. It's like seeing myself. I want to just speak about myself, and hopefully others can identify with that, but it's just a huge shift in life. I don't have to do what is expected of me, that I can paint my own picture. It is like an empowerment, a confidence, an enthusiasm, an excitement to be able to just shift from, I haven't had any money, I wasn't raised in money, to I can have things that, that have to do with money, to be able to talk about money, to begin to see myself. I may not be able to picture myself with billions of dollars, but it's overcoming the hurdles that have kind of kept me down in life. And I'm just feeling, as this is the second book I've gone through now with you, and this is just so powerful. It's almost like, a halfway point. There is just an absolute shift that is riveting in my life, and I'm hoping that everybody is experiencing that because it's powerful.
Beautiful. Thank you. Bob, Missy?
Well, Mickey, first of all, go right ahead and picture yourself having billions of dollars. You're limitless. So don't cut that off from yourself, thinking that's impossible. But I just had a technical question. We write in present tense, he said. Why not from like the future and say, I'm so grateful that I was able to get this.
I have
Yeah, but
done this. I did accomplish
I'm just
this.
wondering, is there, because they all say that, write it in present tense. I know
Okay.
it's not pertinent, but
Well, here's the thing that the line you don't want to cross is where you feel like you're a liar. So I now see myself with is the truth. Okay. I have earned $1 billion. Can you swallow that? If so, go with it. Right.
no, I see.
So
Yes, thank you.
okay,
Thank you.
good. All right. Let go and let God. Who's got some thoughts on this one? This one was big for me. So who's got some thoughts on chapter 4?
This one was really resonant with me. I'd already heard this before. Let me tell you a story.
Mhm.
A fellow I work with, when he first came to work for our firm, was a nervous Nelly. He was always afraid of doing the wrong thing. He came from a very, very large corporate background in the financial services industry. And he was happy being slotted somewhere in the lower middle, where he had some responsibility, but not the ultimate responsibility. And it was always, will you sign off on this? That way he was covered. His motto was CYA. And so he was a pain in various parts of my anatomy. I would come back from lunch. He had a cube that was somewhat adjacent to mine. If you remember the Seinfeld episode about the Seidler, I no sooner had my jacket off than he was right in my cube with a laundry list of things that he needed help with. And one time he accosted me and I told him, I can't help you right now. I have projects of my own to do. I have a client meeting at 2:30 this afternoon. I have to leave at 1:30 to get there. And I actually ran out 2 lengths of adding machine tape and taped them across the entrance to my cube.
Nice.
This was still legendary in our firm. Well, I had to part company with the firm briefly when I found the love of my life and that my future was on Long Island rather than in Overland Park, Kansas. And when they called me back to work with them 12 years ago, one of the things they said is you should come out to Kansas 4 times a year or as often as necessary for firm meetings, FaceTime, the whole 9 yards. When I caught up with him after 2 years, he was changed. And he used exactly this phrase, let go, let God. And I think he had read that in Dr. Norman Vincent Peale. He said, I learned you have to let go and let God, rather than worry about doing something wrong. Do it, and if it's wrong, correct it.
Right for meal.
That was the big difference.
Uh-huh.
He would be so paralyzed with the notion of getting something wrong and the embarrassment and the shame that was associated with that. And of course, that meant there was no one to sign off. No one's going to sign off on something that's wrong. Signing off was the seal of approval as well as being the cover that he needed. He was changed. And right now, he is in a much more influential and important position. And I have him sign off on things for me on occasion, because we're in 2 different areas of our department. I do one thing, he does another thing. And sometimes I'll have to have him check something for me that touches on his aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So let go, let God. And it kind of ties back into the last thing I said last week, quoting Buster Keaton, and how he told the scriptwriters, focus on the beginning and on the end, the middle will take care of itself.
Thank you, Bob. Good stuff. Who else on chapter 4? Let go and let God. Lindsay.
Well, the first part of it, when it said, have you ever, you had the problem, you just want to turn it over to someone else. Well, yeah, we've all had that. But a while, I don't remember how long ago it's been. You go to bed and if you've got something on your mind, that's pretty much what you marinate all night. So the thing was, I think we've talked about this before, was you have an assistant per se, and you just take that in a nice little box. And I did it with an elevator. I'd hit the button, and then there would my friend Jody be. She'd be standing there. I'd be like, handle this, because I knew we changed it to you after me and Missy and Linda talked about. We're like, well, John handles stuff, so we're just going to hand it to John because it'll be handled. But you didn't know this. You were handling all this stuff for us that we didn't want to take with us to marinate. But no, I mean, there's my dog. Sorry, but it's the same principle, but yeah, just let go, let God. But in a short-term version, I would just hand it over to Jody, so I wouldn't think about it So yeah, but I totally agree. Just give it. But that was what I got from the first part of the chapter. And I'll wait. My dog won't shut up now.
All right. All right, good. So you and Bob both recognize where people want somebody else to sign off, right? Where there's been that frustration, right? Where people want to hand stuff off. I was reminded of the quote, "It is not I that doeth the work." And so that's one that I need to remember more often, because I have the tendency to, well, as a, a driver type person and someone who likes to accept responsibility for stuff and have an effect and do things, it's easy for me to think, oh, well, it's me. It's all on me. If it's meant to be, it's up to me, right? Bob mentioned the CYA approach. I have the Goya approach, right? Goya, get off your ass, right? Do it. So it's up to me, all right? But can I balance that with, here's the word that came up again and again for me throughout this chapter: faith. Faith. And what did, going back to Wattles, he quotes Wattles multiple times in the book, and Hill and others, okay? But if each of your actions are efficient, then you must get rich. And what makes them efficient? Well, when they're done with purpose and faith. Faith. I just had this conversation this morning with my wife about this and that circumstance and what's going on. We got a business partnership that we're just, going to cut off. Nothing that anybody here knows about, just one of our businesses. And but what's going to happen next? But what about this? But what about that? And it's like, all right. Where's the faith in all this? And so I had to look for myself and see, have I been applying what he's been talking about in this chapter? I will tell you, for the most part, no. It says here, this is the one where he says, read this chapter 100 times if necessary. I thought it was in the last chapter. So that's a bold statement. He's making a bold statement here. Okay, early in this chapter, we're on page 2 or whatever, right? Once you understand this chapter, it will be as if a tremendous light has gone on in your mind, truly illuminating your life, and you will realize you will never again be the same person you once were. No person, thing, or circumstance will intimidate you ever again. Your days of idle wishing will be brought to a halt. Happiness, health, prosperity. I mean, this is a huge promise he's making here. And then I remembered, holy crap, I've been in that space. I've been in and out of it, okay? But I've been in that space where there's just so much, we could say expectation, which is the next chapter, okay? But these all kind of go together. As he says in the next chapter, we're putting pieces of a puzzle together. They all fit together here. But when I've, without necessarily calling it faith, when I've just been in the flow and expectant with that, sure, my actions were more efficient. Things worked out. And I don't know how in some ways. But what else did he say? People, you attract the right people to you. It's somewhere in here. People do not understand the true nature of prayer. And what is even more tragic, they don't even know that they don't know. Okay. So God's not the bell captain. All right. So give me this, give me that. All right. So the true nature of prayer is to pray without ceasing, to think on these things of good report, as Paul said, okay, in the Bible. All right. So stated slightly differently, the image that you have formed can only come to you on the physical plane of life, your results, in one way, and that way is by law and through faith. So, and he quotes here out of the Book of Mormon. He's not a Mormon himself, but he likes that scripture because it talks about the irrevocability of the decree, right? It's like we're getting into a higher, this is higher than just like the laws of man, right? This is like something really grand, and it's something we really want to be involved in. And I don't, in our groups, I don't talk too much. I mean, I quote various, books and scripture and whatever, but I don't talk too much about, this or that religion, because I my belief is that, well, if it's workable, then work it, right? I mean, whatever text it's from, it's cool, whatever. Okay. But I don't like compartmentalize off, this is right, everything else is wrong, and whatever. I just want to know what works. And what we're talking about here is working with a power, whatever you label it, and whatever flavor ice cream you like to eat, okay, but we're working with a power that is bigger than my own thoughts about it. It is prior to my own thoughts about it. It is more powerful than any thoughts that I could possibly conceive about it in my limited state, doing this human thing, which I guess is part of the game, right? I mean, if we really knew how powerful we were, well, then no game, right? Just fish and loaves, I suppose, right? But no, we get to have some game here. Moving on, it says faith, he said, is the ability to see the invisible and believe the incredible. And that is what enables believers to receive what the masses think is impossible. He got this from one of his people who also had a transformation. Bob was talking about the transformation that happened over a period of years with this guy. Here he was talking about this guy, Clarence, who was kind of a selfless guy. He was not, I mean, you would have noticed the guy was even in the room. Okay, but he had this tremendous faith. Was it the same guy? Not a celebrity. Yes, that's the guy. Okay. If you walked in a crowded room, you probably wouldn't even notice him. Okay. And yet he had tremendous faith, and that's how he explained it to Bob. So comparatively few people today realize just how much faith in oneself, that part of oneself which is spiritual and perfect, all right, that higher self, that true self, how much that has to do with achievement. Because a great majority of people never seem to conceive of faith as being a genuine creative force. No, man, look, this is real stuff, right? Hands, tools, right? Me, my thoughts, my limited thoughts, that's what's going to get it done. Tell you what, I've been in the flow, and I'm hoping that everyone here can identify some time in your life when you've just been in the flow, spontaneous right action, not so much thinking. I mean, how do people like Mozart write concertos at 4 years old and stuff? Okay. And we can all, I guess, have an interesting conversation about it. But he said that he heard the whole thing before he wrote it out complete. It wasn't like, oh, we'll try that. No, we'll try that. No, here's the whole damn thing. Done. Wow. So that is not just the mind of man, I would argue. That is not just the mind of man. So you see, the trouble with those of us who fail to achieve what we desire is not that we lack the ability to do so. We're all very able, okay? But that we lack the faith implicit in the let go and let God principle, which dictates whatever is necessary for us to reach our goal will indeed occur. Not might, not I hope, not I'll try, will. Which leads to the next chapter on expectation. All right. So a mind saturated with fear of failure or images of unwanted results can no more accomplish, create, or produce anything of value than a stone can violate the law of gravity by flying upwards in the air. So what he's saying here is we got to work with the law. And that's one of the other books that Bob recommended to me, which we've read in our book study group, Working with the Law by Raymond Hollywell. It is futile to violate the law. You can't. You can only violate yourself. So work with the law. Go with that flow. Now, for since it is true that God helps only those who first help themselves, it follows that you must always do your part to start the creative process in motion. You must always build the image and know in your heart the image will materialize. You see how many affirmative statements he's giving us here? You see how he keeps reassuring the reader? Instructing but reassuring. You know who else did that? A lot. Napoleon Hill. Next time you read Think and Grow Rich, and I hope you do, notice how much the author validates the reader. What Bob's attempting to do is help you induce faith in yourself by acknowledging and using these affirmative statements. You know, I've actually heard Bob live in a seminar, okay, where he would be giving a lecture and he would open it up for questions and comments, and he would not even entertain negativity or like somebody who wasn't getting the message that he's trying to deliver right here. I remember him listening to this one guy, and the guy was like, well, I really like what you said about this, and I've been applying that, but, and as soon as the guy started with all his buts, Bob was like, huh? I can't hear you. What? And like the crowd would laugh, and he would ask the guy to repeat himself, and he would start over again. And as soon as he got to the butt, what? I can't hear you. Like right there in front of hundreds of people. And then finally the guy got it and sat down. He's like, Bob's not going to listen to my bullshit. So this guy in the crowd was trying to sell Bob doubt. How many of you buy it when others, ignorant bystanders or whatever, right? When others want to sell you their doubt, their disbelief? I've bought it way too many times. Way too many times. And in sales, we get to hear every kind of, objection and, stall, and it's BS. It's BS, right? So we've got, one thing that I've convinced myself of is that, if you're talking to a qualified prospect, right, you're matching the offer to, who you're attempting to serve, well, then it's never about the money. So I don't have the money excuse is nonsense. Okay. So there are realities where, it's not a fit and they're not qualified to buy, but things like that is a stall. They're pitching me now on why they can't. Don't buy it. Great excuse. Probably the best one I ever heard, but I don't buy it. And I hope for your sake, you don't either. I've actually said that to customers. I've actually said those exact lines to customers. That's a great excuse. Probably the best one I've ever heard, but I don't buy it. And hopefully for your sake, you don't buy it either. And they're like, oh yeah. Got to have a little bit of faith to be able to do that, and a bit of non-attachment, right? It says here, your enthusiastic attitude will in turn cause your actions to change, and you will start behaving differently. Be, do, and have. You will begin to gravitate toward and to attract to you other like-minded people. I love this because here's the thing. When I'm in that flow and experiencing faith, I am a magnet in a different, a different polarity than if I'm, wallowing in all my mind thoughts about, circumstances and whatever else, right? People are magnetized to and attracted, right? We talk about law of attraction or attraction marketing, things like this. Well, who's doing it? Who's doing it? And this is why this drives some people crazy. Where, well, I read the script. It's the same script that you said you used to get the customer, but nobody buys my stuff. To me, it is glaringly obvious. Why? Way, way, way bigger consideration than what script or what you do, or no, way bigger consideration is who's doing it. Infinitely bigger. Gravitate, attract. And then the skeptics say you're lucky. Yeah, successful people are lucky. Just ask any failure, right? So it's never adequate to have faith sporadically. You got to do this consistently, right? You don't want to be pulling the seeds out of the ground. Everything's got a gestation period. It's going to grow. It's going to bloom. Have faith in that. Guard it zealously as you would your most precious possession, and ensure that it never be imperiled by weak, downhearted, and negative thoughts. Here's where I flunked. Again and again and again in my life. Flunk. But Napoleon Hill, once again, said in the chapter on persistence, 4 things you got to do to develop persistence. Number 3, a mind closed tightly against all negative influences. Direct quote from Napoleon Hill. Apparently, I've forgotten a lot. So now you can build a huge reservoirs of mental power by simply employing a daily autosuggestive technique. Hopefully, you all got your goal card, and you've got, on your phone, I've got the auto suggestion right there. I've got the goals written out. I've got a few affirmative statements. Okay. For the acquisition and strengthening of this greatest and most necessary of all human attributes, faith. Napoleon Hill once again said, autosuggestion is the tool, is the principle we can use to induce faith. All right. He even said, you start going down the wrong road, Take yourself out. Time out, penalty box. Speak loud to yourself in a firm, decided tone of voice. Janet, you are a child of God, and the being of God was never made intended for this sort of weak, negative life you're leading, right? So you can go ahead and you can give yourself a reprimand. I like this. I didn't highlight the whole thing, but you get the point, right? This is like strong. And I could see myself doing this. I'm so glad we're reading this book. This chapter is just like, come on, John, let's do it. So simple. And yet I'm going to take this verbatim. And you know, if I'm having a dark moment or something, I'm going to go have a lecture with myself. I'm going to go give myself a reprimand. Oh my goodness. Follow the instructions below to the letter. There it is. There's the instructions. Who else has some thoughts on this chapter? I've been talking a lot. Does anyone need a reprimand?
I screenshotted that and I read it to myself.
Oh, good.
And I was very animated. And if you do it in the mirror, it's extremely powerful.
Right.
You gotta be able to see your eyes, you know. But it's very strong. Yeah, we haven't done this enough with ourselves. And I've been talking a lot to myself in the mirror, and very interesting. Sometimes I say surprising things that I wasn't thinking. I don't know where that came from, because there's more to me than just whatever this thing is.
Right.
But that's part of the thrill of it. Yeah, a mind closed to negativity, and faith is the most important thing in everything we do. Even when it's not working, you have to, that's what faith is, when it's not seen. If you're seeing it, you don't have faith. So,
I have faith that you're there, even though I'm not seeing you. You keep vanishing off the screen. And yet, there you are.
All vouch for her presence.
Screenshot that paragraph. It fits right on a phone.
Yeah. This is
Do it.
great.
I'll reprimand you, John. Let me do it.
I'll take that reprimand. Yeah, no, look, here's the thing. I know you can appreciate this, Missy. Maybe it's an Italian thing, but sometimes we need a good talking to.
That's right.
Okay. And who better to give it to us than the person, hopefully, that we trust more than anyone. Now, if you don't trust yourself, well, that's rough. Like I've said often, I mean, if I don't have myself, if I don't have my word, I got no shot, right? Integrity is everything, right? So I got to be able to trust me. Yeah. Who else has some thoughts on this?
Stuart, you're killing me. You got to speak. Stuart, speak.
Stuart.
Oh my goodness.
What's up, Stuart?
I believe in you too, Missy, even if I can't. That's awesome. John, new office? Just kidding.
Yeah.
Nice background there. I feel like this is like the story of my life, is just having faith that everything is going to work out and embarking on a journey, whether it's life word or business or combinations thereof, and just moving forward with an understanding that everything is going to work out, or everything is going to go as planned, or the rewards will come later, or whatever it is. For example, John, I mentioned that I've been involved in a new venture which has been an adventure with a solar install company, and they offered me a position. First I got pitched, and then I said, oh, I think I'd actually like to do this, right? And so I created a picture in my mind of myself doing this and reaping the benefits of it, let's say. And this has been maybe a couple of month process now. And, I went from being the rookie to, I just got off the phone with like the director of sales, and he's like, I know I've only spoken to you a couple of times, but like we're going to bump you up on the fast track, and we want you like, in the inner circle of this company now. And, I've been doing all this sort of side work, and every time I've been showing up to these trainings, I've been showing up to these meetings, and I'm sure everybody's like, who the hell is this guy? And, this is an Arizona company. They're like, who's this guy from New Mexico? Who's Stewart? Who the hell is Stewart or whatever? And all of a sudden I'm being invited to these sales chats of the, up and ups of the companies and personal phone calls and all these things. And, these guys are talking about expanding into New Mexico, and that's why they've kind of been, keeping me on the sidelines, let's say, but I refuse to sort of be on the sidelines. And so I've been really conscious of the fact that I could be sort of coming from this place of impatience and why isn't anybody doing anything for me, or why isn't anybody throwing me a bone, or whatever it is. And I've just been really working hard, not even with the prospect of like, I'm not getting paid yet for any of this stuff, right? And it's sort of what Napoleon Hill and everybody else tells us about this kind of thing is you do the work because that's what you should be doing, and then the rewards will come. This was true with my guide service. This is true with pretty much every aspect of my life. And I'm just seeing the fruition and the rewards of all the study and all the work that we've been doing together for the last couple of years here, and honestly a lifetime of trying to understand these principles and employ them into my own life. And the last couple of years have been an interesting kind of hiccup or roller coastery, kind of trying to realign and figure out what the future holds for me. And that's all been a beautiful adventure and experience in and of itself. But anyway, I just kind of got promoted or got offered a position in this company that I knew. Like I said, I've been doing all this work behind the scenes the last few weeks. Like, oh, you guys are expanding into New Mexico. Let me look up the New Mexico regs, for sales. And again, nobody asked me to do any of this stuff, but I pulled up all this information. I looked up grants that were available, all these different things that would help these guys out in expanding into New Mexico. And all of a sudden, they're like, that guy, this guy knows stuff, and he's really important, and we need to get this guy on the team or whatever. So I don't know, dude, I'm kind of beaming, I'm kind of glowing, because that's why I'm late, because I literally was just on this amazing call where these guys are like, you're the dude. I'm like, okay, I'm the dude or whatever. But anyway, like God, right? And I've lived many years of my life, years ago, let's say, below the poverty line, just doing the work, knowing that someday is going to pay off, and having the faith and the understanding that I always had a roof over my head. I always had food that was provided for me. I always had the kindness of strangers. I always had, I was always very well taken care of in all of my aspects in my life. And I think a big part of that is what you put out, your energy, your vibe, whatever you put out into the world, that comes back to you threefold, tenfold, whatever it is. So I don't know. I didn't get to read chapter 4, but just hearing the let go, let God, and having faith, it rings true, and it actually is pertinent to what I'm going through now. So yeah, have faith in yourself, have faith in the universe. The previous chapter on self-image and the image maker, I think these are tied directly together, because if you have that self-confidence and that expectation, right? Because I think that's part of that persistence and the faith and that magic combo of having faith, but also with the understanding that the thing that you want is going to happen, then it does. Anyway, cheers to you guys. God bless. I'm glad to see you.
Awesome. Thank you, Stuart. Congratulations. And as you were saying, as you were, telling us of your rapid advancement, I thought of the Waddles where he said, more than fill your space, right? So here's my space, my post, okay, but I'm already bigger than that. Therefore, I must advance and attract opportunities. So, how surprised I am? Not at all, not surprised. So well done, my friend. You're friggin' awesome. Wow. Hey guys, we got 4.5 minutes till the top of the hour. Should we cut off here? I don't think we're going to jam chapter 6 in here right now. Can we take up 6 and 7 next week then? Where are we? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, 5. We were about to go into 5. Right. So 5 and 6 for next week. Is everybody good with that? Can I get an amen or something? Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, good. Let's do that. So chapter 5, yes, expect an abundance, and chapter 6, the law of vibration and attraction. So that's we'll do that for next week. Last thoughts from anybody? Last thoughts? No, we're good. We're good to go. All right. Well, thank you guys for going on this journey with us. Each book is another interesting ride. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody back here next week. Of course, if you're seeing this on YouTube, this is all brought to you by the paying members of the John Lavenia Success Mastermind. Go check out jlsuccessmastermind.com and you can grab yourself a free trial membership and join the conversation. So anyway,